coming.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Hi, everybody. This is Margaret Hirsch at Home with Hirschs, and thank you for joining us, our wellness talk tonight. Now, I'm going to waffle for a bit so that all of you joining us live on Facebook will be able to get on and to join and to become part of our community where we try to do the best for you. We spend our whole life trying to improve you and make your life better and easier and just make things so much nicer for you. So today we're going to talk about today's topic, which is health and wellness, and the key to living a fulfilling life. It's so important to live a life that's full. You don't want to just be existing. That is, to me, the worst thing you can possibly do is just exist. So we really want to be living our lives as best we possibly can. So welcome to everybody who's on the show already. Welcome to everybody who's joining us as we go live. And I'm so excited about it because, your wealth is your health and your health is your wealth. And spend your whole life becoming healthy, and you don't want to spend your wealth just keeping yourself alive at the end of the day. So, why does this topic matter to you and to me? Well, in today's fast-paced world, stress is everywhere. It's all around us, whether it's in business, at home. Everything's going fast. We've all got personal challenges. Everybody's dealing with something in their life. You have no idea. And many of us don't realize how much our hormones actually influence our moods. And, if you're in a good mood, everything goes well. And, if you're in a bad mood, everything doesn't go well. It all goes badly. So we have to be able to function at our best all the time. And everything is energy at the end of the day. It all boils down to energy. You've got to have a lot of energy. You have to have positive energy. And you have to be with people who boost your energy all the time. So the reason we have this webinar is to help you understand how you can bring balance into your life and how you can just survive and thrive in this amazing life that we've been blessed with. So my absolute best is Kerry Dell, who is an expert in health and wellness. She's a Mind Valley Wildfoot health coach, and she's going to tell you a bit about that as well. But I think to me, the nicest thing about Kerry is she's helped so many people over the years, so many, including me, transform your health. And it's so important to have her knowledge, which she's got so much of. So I just think before we go on, Kerry, come on and say hi to everybody and tell us a bit about what you're doing at the moment. And I don't mind you advertising your Thriveology and your Wildfits and everything, because I just think it's all good. So tell us.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Margaret. I just love, obviously, what I'm doing. And I love these webinars with you as well. I think it's just, we get to more people, and whatever we can do to help is hugely beneficial. So right now, and it was actually early this morning at 3 o'clock my time in New Zealand, Eric Edmonds and myself started a new Wildfit group with Mind Valley. And we've got 3,200 people participating in that, which is really, really exciting because it's the biggest group that we've ever had for Wildfit. So that is super exciting. That is a 90-day challenge. And you can access that through the Mind Valley membership offer now. So that's why I think we've got so many people on board. It's through the Mind Valley membership offer. My Thriveology program, which I have recently launched, I've got a new group starting the beginning of April. For me, it's just so phenomenal because it really is taking people through a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's all aspects of our wellness at a very, very deep level so that you can actually make the shifts and changes more sustainable. Because a lot of us do a program and it might be for a short period of time and it's like the program's done and then it's like you go back to your old ways. And so this Thriveology is really about, removing toxins, increasing your frequency, but also working with belief systems, working with old patternings, working with actually shifting and changing different emotions. So on all aspects of our wellness, it's actually it's weekly coaching calls along with different tools and techniques that you will get to be able to enhance. And yeah, it's been phenomenal already. We've tested it out already. So I am super excited that this program is going to be an ongoing offer from now onwards. So lots of good stuff coming.
Fantastic. Well, I've learned over the years that no matter how successful we are, if our health isn't in check, nothing else matters. There's nothing worse than being sick. Thank God I've never been sick, touch wood, and I never want to be. And I don't understand when other people tell me they're feeling sick because I'm not. I also can't understand when they tell me they're feeling depressed because I've never been depressed. I'm always on top of the world because I think life is just such an adventure. But I did notice that when I started really prioritizing my wellness, that everything improved. My energy improved, my business improved, my relationships improved. So at the end of the day, as I just said, your health is your wealth, and you've got to know that. But we've been taught to control other things. We're taught to control our weight, our attitude, to have positive thoughts, but we've never been taught how to control our hormones. And sometimes they wreak havoc with our lives. And especially as we approach menopause, well, I thank God have gone through it. And people don't, that men that are listening, don't think it only happens to women. It definitely happens to men as well. Let me tell you something. Men go through more changes, I think, than women when it comes to the midlife crisis and all that type of thing. So your outlook changes, and you have to know how to control yourself. Because if you don't, yourself gets out of hand. And then that's when trouble really hits. So, I mean, I can tell you so many stories of women coming into the store, throwing a temper tantrum, chucking the toaster across the floor and saying, keep your bloody toaster. And then getting home and saying, Margaret, I don't know what got into me. I just lost it. I don't know what happened. That's not me. And one friend of mine, and I still know to this day, Leonie, she came in, she got home, she found me, she said, that wasn't me. She said, it was like somebody took over my body. And I said to her, you're going through menopause. So all women sort of between 35 and 55 is going to happen. So you're going to know it. So you've got to know how to control. But can you tell us a bit about hormones and how do they work and what actually are hormones?
Yeah. Hormones are chemicals within our body, and they are biochemicals, which are the good chemicals. So we often talk about, chemicals or toxins coming into your system, but those are processed chemicals. The hormones are actually our biochemicals. Now, it's really important that we have a good balance of our biochemicals because they control exactly how we think, how we feel. All of these is done by chemicals in our system. And when we unpack all of these, and it could be your serotonin, your cortisol, your progesterone, your estrogen, there's just so many different types of hormones and chemicals that run through our system. But what I really want to address, and this is why I always love going a little bit deeper, is when you start unpacking all of these, like what is that trigger? Like, what is the root cause? Why do we have those outbursts? What has actually happened in our system that changes the imbalance of our hormones? And so it can be quite a number of things. The first thing, which Margaret, you've already mentioned, stress.
Yeah.
Stress is massive. And we have 56 different types of adrenaline that run through our body when we're stressed. And often I say to people, if you're feeling stress in the workplace, you feel one way. But if you're feeling stress in the home place, you feel a different way. It's still stress. If you feel like your body has got inflammation in it, it's actually still stress on the body, but it's different chemicals that run through the system. So we have different stressors that actually make our hormones imbalanced. And a lot of people go, when there's work stress, I can kind of handle that. And when work is done, I can switch off from it and then I need to go home. When it's home stress, often people can't switch off because it's so close to them and it's your family or it's your children or something and so they go to work and it's still running through them. It's still running through all the home stuff is still running through them. And then if it is pain or inflammation in your body, can't switch off from that because that also just runs through your system consistently. So we need to identify where are the stresses coming from and what can I do to strengthen the body or stop those triggers? Absolutely stop those triggers. And Margaret, I went into early menopause at 41 years old. Mm-hmm. And that what you just explained about that friend or that client that you just had was exactly me. I didn't realize at the time I was like biting my husband's head off. And a friend came to visit. And my friend actually said to me, what did you just do there, Kerry? And I'm going, what? Like this little angel, like, what are you talking about? She said, that's not the Kerry I know. And that was exactly as I said, oh, really? Oh my gosh, okay, I've got to go and sort this out. And so I went to a menopause specialist at 41 years old, not thinking that I'm anywhere near menopause. And he actually confirmed after doing all the blood tests, he said, you are going into early menopause. So I said, well, I'm far too young. What can I do? What can I do to get out of this state? And he said to me, well, I can, put you on Prozac. Well, you know my answer to that. Exactly. I said, absolutely not a chance. He said, well, then just go onto the pill. I said, I'm not doing that either because that's another chemical interfering with my hormones. The amount of young girls that take the pill and it imbalances their hormones is huge. It's huge. And I've said to all my clients that are on the pill that are like a young woman, I say, we've got so many apps today that can actually track your menstrual cycle. Please don't get onto the pill. Don't get onto those chemicals because it messes you up for your menopause. It has an impact later on in life. And so we don't want to take those chemicals that stop a menstrual cycle or, make the menstrual cycle so on track that you're actually are messing with your own natural way of being. Anyway, after the specialist saying to me, Prozac and the pill, and I'm going, give me something else, he eventually said to me, you've got to clean up your eating like hugely. So no refined sugars coming in at all. And you have to move your body. You have to move your body enough that your heart beats 5 times a week. And so I did that. I was living in Durban at the time, and I joined that challenge. It's called that Get Fit Challenge. I don't know if they have it around the country in different places. I joined a gym challenge. I cleaned up my eating completely. And by the time I went back to him for more blood tests, he said, you've totally reversed it. I said, I know. I can feel it. I could feel it, and the mood swings had totally gone away. But what I also did is I could feel it in my body. I felt younger. I honestly felt younger in my system. And that's the real trick to it is you don't want to move through menopause before your time. And you do want to feel into your body going, I feel balanced. I feel that my moods are not up and down. They don't crash. They don't have the high highs and the low lows. I'm feeling more balanced. And I feel when I unpacked it even more many years later, I feel it came down to my liver. My
Okay.
liver.
I agree. I think the liver is the one, the part that controls most of your body. It's the thing we know the least about, most of us. I mean, I know about it because I've studied it, but most people don't even think about their liver. Oh, my kidneys and my this and my that, but your liver,
Yeah.
but that is actually what controls your whole body.
It's key. It's absolutely key. And I've had so many different clients come through my clinic with so many different conditions. And the minute we put the liver back in balance, all those symptoms disappear. All those symptoms disappear. It's just phenomenal. But the liver actually produces 80% of your cholesterol.
Yeah.
So 80% of your cholesterol is produced in the liver. It doesn't come from the food, it comes from the liver. Now, the cholesterol is very responsible for testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen.
Yeah. So there you
Very
are.
responsible. So if you've got high cholesterol, the chances are the rest of your hormones are going to be out of balance.
Absolutely.
So we've got to balance the cholesterol in order to balance the testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen in your body. So for me, that is absolutely key. The other thing that the liver does is the liver converts your T4 hormone into T3. Now, T4 and T3 is produced by your thyroid. So a lot of people go, oh, my thyroid's not working. My thyroid's imbalanced. Oh, I've got to remove my thyroid. Oh, I've got, inflammation of the thyroid. I've got hypo. I've got hyper. I've got all these things happening with my thyroid. I always say to them, have you checked your liver?
Yeah.
Have you checked your liver? Because the reason why that thyroid is overworking, underworking, trying to balance itself out is because the liver's not functioning correctly. It's really not functioning correctly. So we've got to go back to, is your liver functioning correctly? Because that is going to help you 80% of the time with your hormones.
And I just want to tell people that they've got to balance their hormones and balance everything and have their whole body in balance. Because when you balance, you feel more energized, you're motivated, and you're emotionally stable. So if you feel like you're having mood swings, and I see people throwing temper tantrums, adults throwing temper tantrums. We were having breakfast yesterday morning, and the guy sent his food back 3 times and threw a temper tantrum. And I just thought, there's something wrong with him, and it's got nothing to do with the food. I felt so bad for the poor restaurateur because it had nothing to do with the food. So you've got to do that, because when you're out of balance, and how do you know when you're out of balance? So you have fatigue, you've got mood swings, you've got brain fog, you've got weight gain, and even your gut is not right. Your gut and your brain are connected, so your gut is not right, and then that's when you really know that you're out of thing. And of course, when you imbalance, you have low energy, you've got frequent burnout, you feel overwhelmed, and that brings on the stress, and then it's a vicious circle of stress and overwhelm. But I think also, your weight fluctuations, sugar cravings, and emotional eating is all to do with that. Also for sleep, disturbed sleep, which of course, and that's next month's talk is sleep. But I mean, I have a huge problem with winding down at night and sleeping. But it doesn't worry me because I'm not a stressed person, but it does increase your anxiety, irritability, and brain fog when your body is not in balance. So, most of us are high-performing people. Kerry, tell us, high-performing people, how do you go about keeping your body in balance with the hormones and the liver and the whole story?
Yeah. And I think what we're coming down to as well is you high performing and you want the energy to perform. And most people feel that they need to actually have sugar to get the energy, but the sugar is the key to actually making those hormones imbalanced or making those mood swings the way they are. So refined sugar is a toxin. It's an absolute toxin in our body, and our body sees it as a toxin. So you might get a little high for a short time, but then you'll crash straight after that as well, which is why you've got those highs and the lows. And a lot of people just reach for that chocolate bar or reach for that coffee with sugar in it or tea with sugar in it or whatever it is that they can have the sugar fix from. But if we can unpack that and go, what is going to balance my hormones? What is going to bring me back into balance? Well, huge thing is fruit. It's natural sugars. We need fruit because we need glucose in our body. Glucose is a natural sugar in our system that helps with our energy levels. And fruit actually knows how to digest. Our body knows how to digest fruit. The enzymes actually work really, really easily and simply. Quickly in order to absorb that so that you've got your energy. We need those natural sugars for hormones, for our brain function. And a lot of our brain function is to do with the mood swings that we are feeling as well. So it is hugely important that if you are feeling imbalanced with your hormones, that you introduce beautiful natural fruits. First thing in the morning, if you can, just put a whole lot of fruit into your system. It's going to help massively, absolutely massively.
Now, I want to talk about stress because I believe that stress is fear. You get stressed if you have fear that you can't cope with something, you can't do something, that something's not going to work out how you want it to work out. And I've seen so many brilliant people burn out because they ignored their bodies and they ignored the stress. So, I just think that if you can control that fear and just say to yourself, I can do this. God will never give you something that you can't cope with. So I can do this. So you won't need that stress to say, oh my God, how's it going to turn out? I'm so stressed. This is happening and that's happening. And even I, who am really strong in myself, I'm going through a huge thing with my tenant and a flat who has paid his rent and I have to evict him. And it's really, and I just thought to myself, I'm getting stressed about this, but why am I doing this? Because what I must do now is focus on the end result, how I want it to turn out, and not wonder what on earth could happen. So I think, chronic stress releases too much cortisol, that's the stress hormone, and that leads to weight gain, poor sleep, irritability, and all the type of stuff that we don't want. So over time, if you keep thinking like that, that imbalance will contribute to your anxiety, depression, and even makes you sick, which you really don't want. So talk to us about the modern stress triggers, obviously, work, like I've got, things with people, I've always got problems with money. Social media gets you going, my God, Kim Kardashian's doing this and that, and how I'm just sitting at home doing nothing. And then, of course, poor eating habits are really bad. I mean, I see the Americans here eat so badly. I went out to dinner the other night, and I just looked at all the food. I thought, oh my God, you are just making yourself so sick eating all that stuff. So I think for me, knowing that I can do anything, that I'm strong enough to do anything, stops me being fearful. I think staying active is also very important, and eating the right food is important. But I think also surrounding myself with positive people. I mean, I often go around, especially in America, where they live and die on politics, and there's people start talking politics to me, and I have to just walk away because I don't want to get that. So I think it's important that you take control of yourself rather than letting yourself take control of you. And so can you talk to us about prioritizing your mental health, your meditation, deep breathing, and even just simply walking in nature just to get yourself back into alignment again?
Yeah. And I think you've just hit it all spot on there. We've got to find things that calm the body down, that allow the body to feel safe. And so it might be different for everybody. But I was just saying to Margaret, I think before we started the recording, that yesterday I managed to get 3 times out to the beach, and twice of those I had a swim in the sea. And so it was in between my day, in between my busy day, that I managed to get out. And I tell you now, by the time the day finished, I said to my son, oh my gosh, I was so productive. I was so productive in the day. And it was because I had these breaks in between, moving in the sea, swimming in the sea, walking on the beach. I took my dog for a run on the beach. It was like, those are my de-stressors. It calms the body so that it allows me to become more active. So it allows me to actually become more productive. So is it meditation for you? Is it movement for you? Like, what is it for you? Is it having a nice, bath at the end of the day just to calm your body down? But you've got to find ways for that body to become safe. It's got to feel safe. So you mentioned fear, Margaret. I feel a lot of the time as well, while we've got this chronic stress and the cortisol constantly running through, is because we've also lost our faith.
Yeah.
And it's the faith in yourself, and it's the faith in your belief system. It's your faith in your God or your creator. It's the faith. When you drop into the faith and you realize, actually, I'm being looked after.
Yeah.
Actually, everything is going to work out the way it's meant to work out. Actually, everything is going to be fine. I was on a call earlier, and I'll mention Eric Edmonds. He obviously created WildFit. He's really well known for it. He's on the Mind Valley platform. It has been for the last 10 years. And this one caller came on, this one participant came on, and he was like, oh, Eric, like, you're my hero and you're my everything. And I can't believe I'm talking to you. And immediately in that moment, Eric actually said, please, I am, my life is not perfect. Don't create the status that I am better than you, because I'm not better than you. So I loved Eric's answer and all of these things. And Eric actually turned around and said, I've made all these mistakes in my life. I've gone through all the trials in my life, like all of us have.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change a thing, because all of those tough times you had, all of those times where you thought you lost your faith or you were living in fear, actually built you stronger. It created a stronger you. It created the you who you are today. So don't put yourself down. Don't,
Put somebody else
have
on a
these
pedestal.
idols. Correct. Just know that every trial that you have gone through has made you into the person you are today. And from my point of view, is when you drop into the faith of that and going, okay, I'm challenged today. Today I'm having a challenging day.
I'm having a challenge. Most days you have a challenge.
Correct. But you don't have to stress about the challenge, because the more that we can move into, okay, I'm having a challenge in this moment. What do I need to do to make my body feel safe so that I can think more clearly? Because the minute that you've got cortisol running through the brain, you can't think clearly either.
Yeah. I mean, I teach my staff, when they get angry with a person, as soon as you get angry, your IQ drops, and it's a proven fact. But I think the whole thing is to come back to what we've got to focus on. What we need to focus on is nutrition, eating whole unprocessed foods that will fuel the body the way it should be fueled. Having regular exercise, which a lot of people don't have. And I, who love exercise, I have to force myself to exercise every day. If I don't force myself, it just doesn't happen. And I've got a friend, and she said, Margaret, oh, you walk every day at 4 o'clock. Can I come and walk with you? So I said, yes, sure. So I phoned, I said, come for a walk. She said, I can't make it today. I said, you've got to force yourself to do that. But to me, I think the greatest thing is your mindset. Your mindset is how you think and react to stress, and that shapes your reality. And I just want to say, people said to me, if you had to change one thing in your life, what would you change? And I said, as you say, everything's built to make you stronger. But if I had to change one thing in my life, I would have had my hysterectomy when I was 30 and not when I was 50, because that made a huge, huge change in my life. I was so glad I got got rid of it. It was I was never been so pleased to see the end of anything in my whole life, and it changed my life. I have never looked back or felt better since I did that. So if some women out there are too scared to have a hysterectomy, I want to tell you, if you had to say what's the best thing you've ever done, apart from marrying my husband and having my children, is having that hysterectomy. It was life-changing for me. So, but I always say to people, you don't have to overhaul your entire lifestyle. You just have to make small, consistent changes. And so long as you make them, it took me, 20 years to decide to have my hysterectomy. And when I had it, I thought, why the hell didn't I do this 20 years ago? I wish I had it. But let's just talk about prioritizing self-care, because as women, we don't want to put ourselves first. As women, we're used to putting everybody else before us. Your turn, you off you go, blah, 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 and we stay behind. But now we've realized that self-care is not selfish. It's absolutely essential to care for yourself first, because you've got to put your own oxygen mask on before you can help everybody else. So talk to us a bit about this and not being able to pour from an empty cup. How can we do this?
Well, this is massive topic. It really is a massive topic, because when you think about, and I think it's probably a built-in gene to many women, is like give, 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 give.
Yeah.
But we don't sit there and receive. We don't really sit and go, okay, can I get back what I've given? Can I fill me up again? And it has to start with your own self-care. It's got to start with, I actually have to prioritize me so that I can receive, so that I actually can put me forward and put me first. Because when that happens, you've got so much more to give out there in the world. You've got
more
so
energy.
much more.
Got more
Yes.
energy to take on, the hassles that get thrown at you on a daily basis. We're going through, oh my gosh, I never saw this one coming, but here I am, and I've just got to get through this challenge. Like bumps in the road, you've got to go over them, and each time you go, there's always going to be another bump in the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think women need to, for this first step to take place, as far as self-care goes, is know their self-worth. Because you are worthy of being looked after. You are worthy of a beautiful, healthy lifestyle. Because when that is in your system, and when that's in your mindset, and you start thinking about that, that's when the faith comes and the fear disappears. That's when you start receiving so much more. That's when things start working out, is when you start prioritizing you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you prioritize your own, and same thing, have your water in the morning, have your smoothies in the morning, put the good stuff into you, take time for a walk for you. Because when you make those things a priority in your life, you will find the people around you will start seeing that and start recognizing that and go, oh, okay, all right, I need to prioritize. And you are the only one that can do it for you, by the way. You're the only one.
Then nobody's going to do it for you. So often, especially as women, we wait for somebody to do something for us. And you've got to realize, and I just said to one of my new staff members today, she said, no, I've done this. I've asked the managers to do this for me. I said, girl, let me wake you up. If you work at Hirschs, don't ask the managers to do it. They're never going to do it. If you want something done, do it yourself. And I think that's how, if you realize people are not going to do things for you, and the moment you decide to prioritize your health, everything else changes and you go through. So I think, as you always say, Kerry, listen to your body, because that's what it is. But I think the other thing is you've got to do it consistently. As you say, people start this up and they start running and then they stop. They go to gym and then they stop. They start looking after health and then they stop. They start being vegan and then they go back to eating meat. You've got to, whatever you're going to do it consistently, so long as it's the right thing. Find what's right for you and just do it consistently. So,
and it's so true to do that, because when you think about how much can shift within 1 month, and then you see how much can shift within 3 months. And then if you do it more consistently and you look back after a year, it's like, oh, wow, I'm actually this far down the track. And it's because of those consistent, I've had women, after 1 month, they've released about 6 kilograms. And then after 3 months, they've released about 10 kilograms. And they're going, oh, it's only 10 kilograms. I've got so much more to release. Then they stick with it. And after a year, 30, 40 kilograms is gone. And I'm going, look at that. Because you were consistent for a longer period of time, you got your results. You cannot expect this body to change overnight if you haven't treated it right for decades.
It took you decades to get this way.
Yeah.
I always laugh when I tell Ellen, I weighed 45 kilos when he married me. He's now got nearly double his worth. But I said to him, but I've got to let that go, because I know where I want to be. I know what weight I want to be. I'm not where I want to be at the moment, and I have to keep going down a little bit at a time, because if you go down a lot, it just all comes back again. So it's a bit of a circle. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's the consistency. And then again, it's your belief system. So I wanted to go back to your decision about having that hysterectomy, because it was your belief system around that made it so well. So many women, I've seen them, they have the hysterectomy and then they break down because now, there's another hormonal imbalance that happens in their system. And they're going, why did I do it? Why did I do it? I'm going, but you've got to understand that you've done it for the right reason for you at the time. So maybe when you were 30, it wasn't the right time. But when you were 50, it was like, oh, wow, look at how brilliant my body feels now. Now I've taken it. So it's got to be the right time for you. You've got to feel into it, and you've got to go, I need to make these changes for me now. It's got to be my time now. I've got whatever changes and shifts you're making. And it could be as little as today, I'm going for a walk. Today, I'm increasing my water. Today, I'm taking extra time to breathe. It could be
cutting down on my food, because I always I eat far too much, which I know. So today I'm going to cut down on my food. But I think the other thing is surrounding yourself with like-minded, positive people, because coming to a new country, as I've just done, I found a lot of people who weren't aligned with me and positivity and that type of thing, and they were negative and talking bad about stuff. And I had to let them go. And now I've eked it down to a few people these are my kind of people. And wherever I go into a room now, I look around, who are my kind of people? And you can see it. You can see the disciplined people. You can see the people who've got pride in their appearance. You can see the people who have taken care of themselves on the outside. And then obviously they will have done it on the inside as well. And I think when we have to lift each other, we all win. So it's to be around people who take, who think the same way as you. But let's talk about balance, because your hormones affect everything, your mood, your productivity. How do you balance it all out?
Well, balance is a huge thing, and I think it's a lot of things that people really battle with. Is finding in between the highs and the lows, is finding this really cool place. And I actually love. Bruce Lipton explains it so well. When you drop a stone into a pool of water, you see those ripple effects that go out. And those ripple effects go out even though the stone is not sitting in the center anymore. The stone is dropped to the bottom, but the water is that ripple effect. But it's not this ripple effect. It's just this ripple effect. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, even though the incident that might have caused the highs and the lows have gone away and disappeared, we don't have to still, be there with this huge waves coming. We can actually do it with this very gentle ripple that is actually happening. So if we can get to that part of us that experiences an event, realizes that the way we respond to that event is going to have an outcome of our hormones, of the next person that we engage with, of ourselves, it's all going to have a huge impact on what happens to us at a cellular level, by the way. So if we react to something very harshly, and there's a mood that comes in there really harshly, know that that's going to affect us probably more than it affects everybody else, which is why you got the phone call from that friend saying, that wasn't me, because it does affect us more than it affects everybody else. And if you have an outburst and it affects other people, it might affect other people also in the way that they think about you, and that's the way you think about you, and now you get trapped in that as well. So really what it is, it's when those moments occur and you know that it starts coming, because we all have had those incidents like it's building. So we get warning signals. We really get warning signals. And in those moments, we need to change our state. Now, I know, Margaret, you've been to Tony Robbins events, and he talks about the state change. And so when we think that we're collapsing down into this deep hole of depression, change your state. How do you change your state? Dance it out, move it out, move your body. If we move our bodies, we are more balanced.
Change your physiology to change your life. You change your physiology and you change your life. You do a Zumba class. I love line dancing. I'm hopeless at it, but I love it. And that type of thing. It's just incredible. Yeah, but you have to change your state. By the way, Tony Robbins just lives down the road from me here. He lives
Oh, awesome.
at Manalapan at West Palm Beach, yeah, just down the road. I never knew he did. But his assistant, Alan Kleinhaus, who's a South African, had lunch with him the day before yesterday, and he told me, he said, no, he lives just across the road. So, yeah, crazy,
Brilliant,
crazy.
brilliant. You see, you surround yourself. You've created, this is your environment. This is where you want to be. And you just, you start, that starts being attracted to you.
Yeah.
So definitely the movement and changing your state is going to be crucial. It's absolutely going to be crucial. Years ago, I was absolutely addicted to Grey's Anatomy. It was that show that was on, it was a medical show, and I just loved watching these doctors in action. And what they used to do is, if they had a really bad day and they, had a couple of deaths that happened throughout the day, they used to go home to their environment and they used to dance. And I thought, out of everything in that show, that was probably the most important thing to take away from it, is change that state by dancing it out, by absolutely dancing it out. And so if we can't dance it out, then move it out. Move that out. That's what I was saying. I knew going into my day yesterday that it was going to be a really busy, stressful day. So what did I do? I put gaps in between for me to make sure that I got into the ocean, that I had the walks on the beaches, that I actually managed to get there 3 times in a busy day, because I knew that I needed to change my state in order to cope with the stress and to not allow my cortisol levels to get too high. So this is huge, is put those gaps in when you know that you've already got things that are happening in order to create that balance. So I was balanced whilst I was in the ocean, but I was working really hard when I was out of the ocean, and then I was getting back into the ocean and getting balanced again.
Yeah, I think we all have diaries, and I think it's so important to put times in the diary. I mean, I do my meditation in the morning, so that's a constant, and that's every morning. But I think I don't put enough gaps in the day where I just take an hour. And people say, I can't afford an hour. And I say, well, when you go on holiday, you're not there for a whole day, so you can afford an hour now and put that hour in. But I know, talk about changing your state. So Glenda and I do yoga, but my time here is 8 o'clock in the morning, and her time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So what we do is we do Zumba first, which is dancing. We do a Zumba class first, which changes our state. Then we can do our yoga, because we're in a different, because if you go into yoga when you like in a work state, you really can't focus and think what you're doing. So I think it's so important to be able to change your state. And what I teach people as well is, for everybody who feels sometimes, your life is just not going the way you want it to. What you do is you stand still and you turn around 3 times really, really fast, and you stop. And if you're giddy at the end, you are out of kilter, because we are all beings. We're on the earth's turning, and the earth's turning around the sun. We are on the earth and we're spinning with it. And sometimes you just get out of kilter and you're not spinning at the same speed as you should be. And that's just a very good, cheap, easy exercise to pull yourself back into kilter. And you'll be surprised how often, when something's really not, your life's just not going right, spin around 3 times, get yourself into kilter, and then you move on and everything starts going just how you want it to. It's quite incredible. Somebody taught me that, and something I've never forgotten. So yeah, I think it's just so important to realize, and also the words you speak are what you prophesy into your life. So I never say I'm stressed, because I really don't feel like I am stressed, but I would never say I was stressed, because if you say it, you bring it to yourself. So I always say, I've got enough energy to take this. God will never give me something that I can't cope with. I know that it will. And Alan's words are, and this too shall pass. I'm always going, oh my God, this is going on and on and on. And this too shall pass, Margaret. This time next year, you will have even forgotten this was happening. And I think that's another thing that we've got to take into account. We all go through these ups and downs. I saw a little kid had a T-shirt on yesterday, life is a series of waves, because we live at the beach and all that, all surfers and that. And it really is so true, because life is just a series of waves. The wave comes, and then it goes, and it comes and it goes. And I think if you just realize that, and I think as you get older, you realize this is not the end of the world. Life is going to go on. I think that's the way to do it, and that's how to do it, and how to survive and thrive. So with your Thriveology, is that what you teach as well?
Absolutely. We dive into a lot of the mindset and belief systems and old patterning. And because, so much of what we are it probably comes from our ancestors as well. When you think about what we were taught, what they were taught, what, you know, and you've got to break those patterns if you want to shift your life. So Thriveology is about the mindset, the belief system. It's also about the emotions, because there are emotions that obviously pull you down. There's emotions that push you up. And then it's about really putting the right habits in place. So we do go through the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all the sides that have the biggest impact on us when it comes to our well-being. And all the stresses that are there as well. So the other stresses that come in, which we address in Thriveology, is financial, environmental, and relationships. So your social. So we look at all of those aspects that have an impact on your wellness, and then we give you tools and techniques to actually be able to have this beautiful balanced life that you're thriving, absolutely thriving. So it's very exciting.
To literally change your mindset to be able to cope with what you've got at the moment, and to change it to what you want. And I think the whole thing is thinking what you want and not what you don't want. Because but at the end of the day, you know, I've learned over the years that no matter how successful you are in all areas of your life, you have to be healthy. If you're not healthy, nothing else matters. And you'll see when you start prioritizing your wellness, and with me it changed to being vegan. My whole life changed so much for the better. I had so much more energy. My business got better. My relationships got better. And at the end of the day, you realize your health is your wealth. And we're taught to control everything else, but not how to control our hormones. So I think with this, we must really learn to control our hormones, to know when we're starting to feel that things are not going right. And I know, I mean, when I was younger, I knew when my estrogen was high. I knew when my testosterone was high. I have very high testosterone, by the way, all the time. I don't know why. Maybe that's why I've got such a deep voice. I have no clue. But I think with women, we need to be able to control that and say, hey, I'm going through this. I know that it's happening. This is how I'm going to control it. I'm going to start breathing. I'm going to start dancing. I'm going to start doing whatever I have to do to make it happen. So, and I think if we realize that hormones are the chemical messengers that regulate everything, our energy, our mood, our metabolism, even our decision making. You know, you'll make a decision on how you feel at that moment. And that's why a lot of times, if I've got a big decision to make, I'll never make it there and then. I'll say, let me sleep on it tonight and see how I come out in the morning. And because in the morning, you normally, I'm a morning person, so I'm much better balanced in the morning. I feel energized, motivated, I'm emotionally stable. Then I can make a really good decision. But I think to all the people listening and watching today, I must say that WildFit did change my life for the better as well. It's very hard to be WildFit and vegan. I have to tell you, it cuts down a lot of what you can and can't eat. But having now just written my vegan cookbook, my next vegan cookbook, and if anybody wants, you can just inbox me and just let me know, and I'll send you a copy as soon as it goes to print. We're just doing the last page now, and it goes to print, I think, tomorrow. You know, eating vegan definitely improves you. It improves your how you get rid of, what do you call that when you get rid of all the bad things in your life, the detox and that type of
All
thing.
the toxins. Yeah,
Yeah,
all the
get rid of the toxins, and it just makes you feel so much better. And when I see people gulping down huge wads of meat, I just think to myself, oh my God, what is that doing to your poor gut? You know, just imagine all that meat sitting in your stomach and a big wad of meat trying to be digested. I think it's just incredible. So I think, you know, we all want to be high-performing individuals. Now, how do we change our lives for the better to do that, especially going through menopause, which a lot of us have been.
So I want to just unpack what we said earlier as well, and getting back to the nutrition being such a key part of it, because when we spoke about the thyroid and when we spoke about the liver, actually the impact that it has on that, it goes back to the gut. Now, when I talk about the gut, I'm talking about the stomach and the small intestine. The small intestine is where most of the nutrients are being absorbed. The stomach is where you break everything down. So the stomach has got a very high acidity to break everything down. It turns into churn and it goes into the small intestine so that you can be absorbed it. So if you are stressed, believe it or not, your stomach acidity is low. If your stomach acidity is low, it's not going to break down the foods efficiently, which means foods are going to go through into the small intestine in lumps. If it's in the small intestine in lumps, small intestine doesn't have half as much digestive enzymes compared to the stomach. So the food's not going to break down in the small intestine either, and that's when it ferments. So you're talking about sometimes chunks of meat fermenting in our gut, and that fermenting turns into alcohol, which affects the liver. So we have huge a number, possibly about 80% of the population on the planet today has fatty liver, and that we actually call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because it doesn't come from drinking alcohol. It comes from our own bodies making the alcohol from fermented food in our gut.
Yeah.
Now, we are looking to try and flush that all out and try and balance the hormones and feed the liver and the thyroid. The key ingredients that I have checked when I go through, I've got a nutritional guide, by the way. So if anybody wants the nutritional guide, please send me a message as well, and I will send that out free of charge as well. So the nutritional guide has got the foods that you need for vitamins, minerals, and hormones. So when I go through what foods we need to balance the hormones, most of the hormones need leafy greens.
Wow.
How much leafy greens is everybody eating? Now, I'm not saying just one type of leafy greens. I'm talking about all the leafy greens. So in a day, how many leafy greens do you eat?
Well,
So
I
when
eat a lot. Being vegan, you have to eat a lot because
exactly.
I love Brussels sprouts. I eat Brussels sprouts at least every second day. I love broccoli. I love spinach. I have salad every day. So, but it has to be a conscious thing because you don't just, you can't go into a restaurant and order spinach and here in America, they do have Brussels sprouts on the menu everywhere. So that's
Now,
fantastic.
Brussels sprouts and asparagus are the two key ingredients to clean out your liver.
Oh, really? Hey, wow.
So Brussels sprouts and asparagus are a must if you want to clean out the liver. The third most important ingredient for the liver is actually apples. And it's actually red apple. Celery clears out the acidity and the inflammation in our body, but celery is key for your stomach function.
Okay.
So celery is absolutely key to get the stomach functioning so much better. But to clean out the liver and to detox the liver, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and red apples.
Oh,
Very
wow. Oh, hey. So
that old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I'm quite sure there was some truth in that. There was like really some truth in that.
It definitely does. So let's just see the key takeaways that we've got from this, because I've been making notes all the time, and say, balance is the key. I think that is the absolute key. Your hormones affect everything from your mood to your productivity. Stress management is essential. You've got to learn to control your stress before it controls you. And small changes can lead to big results. You've got to focus on progress and not perfection. You're not going to get it right overnight. It took you a long time to get like this, and it's going to take a long time to get it right. I think the other thing that we've got to realize is times are changing, and I think when I grew up, we used to have meat and 3 vegetables every night. That's what we had. Now we have pastas and we have pizzas and we have all sorts of different things that we never had in those days. And I think you've got to, realize that our eating has definitely changed the way we look and feel. As I've said a million times, I will continue to say, health is your greatest wealth, because when you take care of yourself, everything else is fine. There's nothing worse than feeling sick and feeling that you're not at your best. And I think to encourage the people around you, and this is what we're doing here, encouraging everybody to start applying at least one change from this discussion today, not to go and say, oh, I sat through the webinar and they spoke about amazing things, but I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to have this big lump of meat and a pile of potatoes for supper. You've got to start, implementing what we teach you. And I think at this stage, I'd love to, I don't know how many questions we've had on Facebook, but I really want you to share your experiences and struggles and stress with hormone balance with us so that we can help you, because we are here to help. That's what we do. Kerry and I give this of our time. We enjoy it, but it's here to help you to make yourself feel better so that you don't have to go through all the things that we've been through. So Kerry, a wrap up from you going forward.
Well, I just want to answer. There's a question there from Libby about can you eat canned asparagus? So obviously, any fresh foods are the best because they've got more high vibration in them. They're living foods. Any living foods is the best. But canned asparagus, when it's canned in salt water, perfect, absolutely perfect. So you can definitely have canned asparagus that will help. If there is any type of preservative in the canned, then I would not take that at all. And it's amazing because I've noticed here in New Zealand, we either have a season of Brussels sprouts or a season of asparagus. So we can't always get both at the same time. And that's perfect because we should be eating what's in season at the time. So see what's being grown in your country and eat those foods at that time. It's going to help you even more. So yes, perfect. I'm not sure if there was any other questions.
Carol says, no, Judy says, hyperpigmentation, do you think it's linked to hyperthyroidism? Oh, something to do with the thyroid.
Yes. So pigmentation has always been related a lot to hormones, a lot to hormone balances, but at the same time, it is hugely related to your liver, by the way. And that's why often people call them liver spots as well. They get liver spots on their skin, which is pigmentation too. So huge thing to do is to look after that liver, really look after that liver.
Yes, for sure. And we don't realize how important the liver is, and we've got to clean it out all the time. Does fennel work in the same way as celery in the gut?
Fennel is beautiful, but it doesn't work in the same way. It doesn't
Really?
work. Yeah. Celery, and specifically if you juice celery, it actually extracts the sodium clusters out of the plant. And that is the one that actually heightens the acidity and helps. It actually helps your digestion completely. So it prepares your body for digestion. But fennel, if you do fennel in smoothies or soups or anything like that, beautiful for your liver. Beautiful for your liver. So fennel for me is really good as well. Very key.
So Elsabe said, can we treat hypothyroidism? Something. What you know the word.
Yeah. Hypothyroidism. You go back to the liver. Honestly, I have seen so many people, the minute that they no longer have a fatty liver, all of a sudden their thyroid's imbalanced, their hormones are unbalanced. So if we had to unpack, if I have to look after my liver, what do I need to do with my gut? I need to clean out the toxins out of my gut so that my gut doesn't ferment, so that my liver is functioning correctly, so that my thyroid's functioning correctly. Everything in our system is linked. Everything is linked. And just to let you know how important the liver is, the liver has over 500 different functions in the body. So the liver is responsible for balancing your cholesterol and producing 80% of it. The liver is responsible for balancing your hormones. The liver is responsible for balancing your metabolism. It is responsible for cleaning out your blood. It's responsible for producing your bile. So your bile is like your dishwashing liquid that actually cleans out. The gallbladder stores it, the liver produces it. So there is so much that the liver is really responsible for. So for me, it's really unpacking the gut and knowing that the gut is supporting the liver is supporting the thyroid and the hormones.
Yeah, and iodine, remember in the old days, you used to take iodine for thyroid problems, but
Yes.
iodine comes in iodized salt, seaweed, dairy, eggs, and fish. So that's it. Selenium helps convert T4 into T3. So that comes in Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, tuna, and eggs. And zinc supports thyroid function, which is in beef, chicken, pumpkin seeds, and lentils. So yeah, there's lots of different ways, but it all goes back to food. And you've got to start, whatever you need, eat the right food, and everything will come right.
Yeah.
So
And alongside that, I just wanted to mention some other beautiful supplements would be dandelion root and milk thistle. Those are my two key ones for liver. And dandelion root is probably growing in your back garden. It's a weed that
yes.
grows. You can actually snip the weed off and just either dry it out or put it straight into some nice hot water and have it as a tea. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal for our livers.
Wow. I never knew that. I've seen it on the shelves, dandelion root. And I thought, well, I don't think I'm going to take that, but now I'll definitely give it a try. So now we've been talking about hormones and that. Next month is we're talking about sleep. Now, sleep is a very controversial thing, especially for me, who never slept much at all, ever. And it's on the 21st of April. I'll be in Phoenix, Arizona at that time. So it's going to be quite exciting for me, right in the middle of the desert. We go hiking and we go to Monument Valley and all that type of thing to see what's going on there. So yeah, it's at 8 o'clock at night as well. So hopefully you've had your supper, put the kids to bed, and sitting you down with your little drink and whatever, and have a chat to us. And it's very controversial. So anything you want to know about sleep. Now, sleep is so important, because if you don't sleep well, your body heals itself when you're sleeping. So you have to have that. But people like me, I can get by on 2 hours sleep a night. At worst I ever slept was 4 hours, but now I'm training myself to sleep more. It doesn't always work, but I am trying to train myself. I've got up to 6 hours in one night. So yeah, it's something very, very different. But if you sleep well, you really feel well. And what's the first thing? I was listening to a thing about millionaires. What's the first thing you should buy yourself when you earn a lot of money? And one of the things he said was a really good mattress, because he said he'd slept on couches and floors and all for his whole life. When he got money, he bought himself a really good mattress, and he's never slept better. So I think it's also important. So send us all your comments about sleep. You sleep too much. You have some people sleep their whole life away. I've got friends who only get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock at night they're ready to go to bed again. So that's a really, really amazing topic for me. And let's talk about sleep, how to sleep, where to sleep, what to sleep on, all that type of thing. We'll be back on the 21st of April. Thank you so much, Kerry, for your input today. You're amazing as always. Wish you lots of luck with your Thriveology. I wish you lots of luck with your mind belly coaching with Eric Edmeades and talking about WildFit. And if anybody hasn't Googled Eric Edmeades and WildFit, do yourself a favor and Google it. It's an amazing, amazing documentary about him. And I hope that you're all going to feel so much better next month. When you come to us, you're going to say your hormones are all in order, your gut is clean, your liver is fantastic, and we're feeling like on top of the world. And that's what we aim to do. So yes, it's and especially as you get older, you need to feel good. It really is so important. And if your body feels good, your mind feels good, and everything starts to go right. Thank you so much, Kerry. Thank you to all of you who came to listen to us tonight. Hope you're feeling amazing. Please send us lots of information of different talks that you'd like to have later in the year. And we look forward to seeing you next month. 21st of April it is, and we look forward to seeing you there. Have a wonderful month. Thank you, girls.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Jay.
Bye.